Just as recently as a few years ago, Moana was the biggest girl brand on the planet. But Disney has managed to destroy it, much like Star Wars. And now, the live-action remake with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson headed for catastrophe. But that's not all. Also, Disney now facing a reality where Toy Story 5 is sputtering out at the box office. Without a doubt, it now seems that Disney just might be in the negatives for the box office this summer. What a bummer, ladies and gentlemen. Every single time we talk about Disney, it's another big blunder. Mando, hold my blue milk, here comes Moana. Folks, as we are getting ready to go deep into this box office discussion, you click that like button. If you're not yet subscribed, we thrive when you subscribe. All right, it's woeful. It could be awful. Moana is on the way to the box office, and Dwayne Johnson is not having a good time. Neither is this young lady, unfortunately. She's going to make some money, but the movie may not. ThatParkPlace.com reporting it. Moana box office projections fall again as live-action remake faces potentially disastrous opening weekend. Oh my. And it's not only this, folks. Remember, Moana needs to help dig Disney out of the failure of Mandalorian Grogu as well as Hoppers. Those movies went very negative, and so Toy Story is trying to do a lift. Moana needs to assist, and now it's looking like even the wins are out of the sales of Toy Story. We'll explain in just a minute. Disney's live-action remake experiment may be facing another major test as box office projections for Moana continue to slide ahead of release. Once viewed as one of Disney's safest bets due to the enormous popularity of the animated franchise, it was the #1 movie in streaming, by the way, on Disney Plus and any streaming for years. The live-action Moana remake starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is now reportedly tracking far below the kind of numbers many expected from one of the studio's premier modern properties. According to Global Box Office, expectations for the film's domestic opening weekend have fallen again, with the outlet now projecting Moana to debut in the $45 to $60 million range. Now, it says the budget is $200 million. I suspect, folks, that the cost of this movie is actually far in excess. And they're doing a world tour. They're stopping in all kinds of places, Hawaii, and everywhere else. Those are expensive. The marketing on this film is going to be crazy expensive. So at the very least, I think we are kind. We're benevolent even, as so many say, to say that Moana needs $600 million to break even. But I think it's higher than that. And if this is opening to 45 to 60 domestically, look out. We may be looking at another Supergirl situation. This film is ugly. The Rock in this bodysuit does not look good. And this does not look good. Before I go to one other part of this story that we need to discuss, panel, I want to show you this. I just mentioned Toy Story 5. The wins are not particularly in the sales of this. If you look at the 764 for the worldwide box office after now having been out for, what is this, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for Toy Story?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, we're going to the third weekend. There aren't a lot of films that generate $250 million starting in week 3 on. Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to do that, and Disney can leave Toy Story 5 in the box office forever and let it limp across the billion mark. But this is starting to slow down significantly. And this appeared at the first week to be a guaranteed billion. I don't think it's guaranteed anymore. Odin, I'll go to you. Moana is struggling. Toy Story 5, not a guarantee. Still probable, I would say. But those ideas where we were talking about this is the biggest animated movie ever, that's all going away rather quickly. What do you say about this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when they started to announce, the biggest opening in the franchise, or, they like to kind of run their mouths with all that nonsense. And as my, name indicates, I care about things like inflation and actually looking at ticket sales and things like that. And the fact is, Toy Story 5 still had about, 4 million less tickets sold in its opening domestic than the last Toy Story movie or so. Like I said,
and way less than Toy Story 3.
Yeah, so we're talking about significant losses, between the movie's releases and then began the inflated ticket price being a big part of that. So I guess starting off with Toy Story specifically, opening weekend, the indications were if it had a typical run for an animated movie, especially for a Toy Story movie, $1 billion would have been very easily on the table. And with the second weekend numbers, even with that, it still seemed more than likely. The way that I typically do my charting is I look at, okay, what do films historically do after their second weekends? And most films, on average, either double their box office in a best case scenario, or their second weekend actually makes up about 70% of their entire box office, and they don't make too much more after that. So with that in mind, the average actually would still put the film at $1 billion, but just barely at $1 billion. Now, personally, I think the film is still going to hit that because it is still, again, doing pretty well, especially when you look at the numbers there. The fact that the domestic and international are also very closely together. You're not seeing a higher international versus domestic. Again, that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as well. But I do still think that $1 billion is going to be on the table. The bigger factor, the more kind of impressive thing about all of this, though, is that even with the amount of money that it's made so far, it is still not broken even. With a $250 million budget, right? Your typical break even these days is about three times
hold
your
on,
budget.
Odin.
Yeah.
Hold on, Odin. Can I just say I love you for this? Because when I do this, I take so much heat, and it's so nice to have somebody who you know the stats, you know the numbers, and thank you for doing this for me, so I don't have to be the one who comes out and says needs $800 million to break even, and people go, "Bro, you're an idiot."
No, I mean, because again, whenever we do break evens, it's always an estimate. All right, it is always a range. It's never an exact figure. The reason why is because we cannot predict where a movie is going to make money. Right? We can't predict whether it's going to make more money domestically, whether it's going to make more money internationally, and where it makes money is a huge factor in what your actual break-even point is going to be. And when you look at the numbers here, obviously a bigger chunk is still coming from the international market, and about over 30 million at this point is from China, where your return on investment is that much lower. So based off what we have right now, right, with the budget being 250, with the marketing being projected to be well over 100 million, probably over 150 million dollars or so, but even just looking at the budget, this film, as of right now, is still about $19 million in the red. So it's going to hit its break-even point. It's going to make money. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen.
But it has to dig them out. Oh, and I bet this is where you're going. It has to dig them out of the losses for Mandalorian, which is insane, and the losses from Hoppers. And it's going to struggle to do that because, as you said, the break-even is so high, and now it may have to dig them out of Moana as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Moana, probably, as you said, cost at least $200 million, break even roughly 600. And again, it's probably not going to hit that based on the numbers that we are seeing right now. I did some, initial kind of research to see how the live action film's done. And if this film does between, 40 and 60 million domestic, that puts it closer to the track of Snow White's domestic.
Right.
Snow White only opened to about $42 million domestically. So if it hits at that lower end, in the domestic side, it would be very much closer to a Supergirl situation, basically, but in this case for Disney. I don't think it's going to hit that. I don't think the numbers, also internationally, I don't think the numbers are going to be nearly as bad for this as it was for Supergirl, but it is still likely to be one of the worst openings in the history of their live action remakes. And after last year's very successful Lilo and Stitch, this is, I think, going to be a very big sign to them that they cannot just take every property, make it live action, and assume it's going to make them money. Because right now, it's not likely that this film, again, all things could change once the numbers come out, especially once those internationals come out. But this is not going to be a film that's going to be any type of a safety net for them. In fact, it could even end up being a loser for them.
Odin, let me do one follow-up with you, and then we'll get the rest of the panel in.
Yeah.
My estimation is that Toy Story 5 has got to get somewhere around 450 domestic for this to get on the billion mark, right? It is being slightly led by the international. Yeah. What's challenging about that, and this is Disney's fault. This is them, okay? This is their scheduling. Toy Story, in its third weekend, what I worry about in terms of it getting to the billion, and I'm with you, I think it's still likely it does, but it's a possibility it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And the possibility enters because all of those screens that Toy Story 5 has been enjoying, many of them are going to go to Moana. Mm-hmm. And Moana looks like a disaster, but it is a contractually obligated disaster the theaters must put on screens. And some of those screens, they've got to come out of Toy Story 5. They just have to. You can't have 3 family films running at the same time and not say, Minions, Toy Story, you guys got to give up some of these screens to make way for Moana. Disney is actually shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and they're so hard-headed that they will, I mean, if it was me, if it was my movie and this was all happening, I would be saying, all right, let's see how it does opening day, and then let's kind of refigure some things, because Disney has always been the most notorious and the worst studio in how it handles its relationships with theaters, specifically with how it shows movies. I worked at a theater for a few years, and so I got to kind of see the booking behind the scenes. And so what Disney does, for those that maybe don't know, is that Disney will tell a theater, oh, you've got X amount of screens that can do 3D capabilities. You have X amount of screens that can do IMAX, etc. Okay, if you want our movie, here's what you got to give us. You have to have X amount of IMAX showings every day. You have to have X amount of 3D showings, X amount. And if you don't do that, then you don't get the movie. Or you could be held, violating of the agreement, and it could cause some problems down the road. So if I was me, I would say, all right, if Moana sucks, if Moana doesn't do anything, I would call the theaters and say, all right, let's actually, we're going to let you show Toy Story 5 instead, right? We're going to alleviate you from this agreement a little bit and try to get a little bit of help here. But they're not going to do that, right? They're going to think, oh, Moana's going to do fine, and everything's great, and then they're not going to want to basically admit defeat there. But do not be surprised if maybe it's not as long of a hold, right? Because typically they have about 2 weeks where they'll have 2 weeks ownership of IMAX or of premium format screens. That's typically how they like to do things. But if they decided after a week to maybe shift that wouldn't surprise me. But Disney's very hard-headed, so if they don't, that wouldn't surprise me either.
I'm going to throw in 2 data points here. The first of all is they're already talking about Moana 3. That's dropped, and they said, oh, we're in talks for it. They've already got Jared Bush and Dana Ledoux Miller working on the next one. She's the one who wrote Moana 2, and she's writing the live action, or wrote the live action. I don't know which version of the live action, because they made 2 separate articles talking about the end of principal photography on that were years apart, if not months. So the other thing I'm going to point out is Hoppers, shockingly, actually nearly topped the Nielsen charts. That was a movie that did not do that well at the box office.
Did it just come out?
Yeah, the numbers for Hoppers. It was number 2 on the entire chart. Not number 1 on the, well, obviously number 1 on the movies chart, but it actually did well, which is something that never happens for Disney. So there is an added element here of there is some interest, but it's not enough to get people into the theaters.
I'm trying to get that to come to the screen. The Nielsen is not wanting to participate right now. Here we go. Let's see. Nielsen. Let's see what we got.
There it is right there. Almost 1,200. Sorry, I should say 1.1 billion watch minutes in the week that it came out. And it came out on a Wednesday, I'm sure. So it's half a week.
But I also, here's the thing that always gets me, though, because as impressive as that might be, the fact that Bluey is still at where it is, and that a brand new thing from Disney called Hoppers is only barely beating it, I think says, okay, it might be good for the overall chart, but to me, if I look at that, I say, oh man, our new thing's only barely beating Bluey.
Oh, absolutely. And it's rare that anything new actually does get there. This is the outlier. Disney rarely has anything Disney branded in the top 10 ever. They'll have Moana will be near somewhere in the top 10 for movies, which is the also ran chart. It's the I guess it's the miscongeniality of the chart over here. So Bluey will go back to the top in a few weeks, more than likely.
Here's what's amazing to me about the Bluey thing. We'll sidebar for just a second. When you see something successful from any of these companies, what do they often do? Man, they make oodles, especially if it's a kid's property. They copy it. They copy it over and over. If something works on Disney Junior, there's 15 of them, in the next year, because they know how to create the model and then follow it. Nobody, outside of that little Chip Chilla thing that showed up on the Daily Wire's ill-fated streaming service, nobody is trying to copy Bluey. And the reason I believe nobody's trying to copy Bluey is because they hate it. They don't like it. They don't like that it's traditional. They don't like that it's conservative. They don't like that, it's a nuclear family of dog people that, the parents play with the kids, and it's, mom and dad, and they're good and they're moral and all that kind of stuff. They don't like it. I think they resent the heck out of that show. And they just picked it up as a little added, BBC thing to throw on over in Disney Plus, and it suddenly took over their streaming service and was like, hey, by the way, all the Disney fans, this is actually what they've been wanting. It's antithetical to everything you're making, but what are you going to do now, eh? Throw it into the Disney parks as fast as you can, and don't emulate it. Whatever you do, don't make another one of these. That's the Disney way right now.
It might even be simpler than that, though. I don't think they can make it. That's the bigger thing. They don't have the capacity anymore. All their creativity went out the door, most notably when Lasseter went out.
Darn you, Odin, you're right
they just
again.
don't have it anymore.
Quit being right over and over now.
No, keep being right. This is beautiful.
Michelle, let me pull this up on the screen. Get it right fast. When we're talking about the money that's going into these movies like Moana, and Carol, you feel free to weigh in as well. But this is where the money's going. This is from Killer Crew over on X. It says The Rock was shocked when a fan showed up and gifted him a vintage wrestling magazine featuring his grandfather, Peter Maivia. Maivia? I don't know. Maivia. Okay. So this is at one of the international stops. Looks like it's in England for Moana. So he's showing up. Disney is sending him and all the cast and crew to location after location after location. It's like little red carpets everywhere. The money is insane. I'll play this because I actually like it. I think this is an organic situation. I don't think that Disney pre-planned it, which is crazy to me. Usually all of this is synthetic and make-believe, but I think this is real. But as we play it, in the background, keep in your minds, folks, the money this costs, the marketing. So when people tell us, well, they probably only spent $50 million in marketing. Oh, give me a break. This is how you get into the $200 million marketing kind of discussion.
Absolutely. I got you. I got you. Wow, look at that, man. Wow. Let me see. Can you see these? Oh my God. Wow. This was for me. This is from Britain. Oh my God. Yeah, my grandfather used to wrestle here, man, in London. This is crazy. Peter von Maynor is the inspiration for Maui.
Yeah, exactly. And they're actually for your mum.
They're for my mom.
I met your mum at Dallas WrestleMania. Yeah. We had a chat about your grandfather.
Wow.
And I told her about the magazines.
Yeah.
And she said she'd love to see them someday.
I'm going to carry these to her, and I'm going to give these to her. I'm going to make.
All right. So I just wanted to play that because it's so negative right now, everything we cover. And I am so desperate for any positive news. So, silver lining, Disney's paying hundreds of millions of dollars for marketing, but at least Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got magazines of his grandfather. And that's a nice moment, but it is very expensive what they're doing, Michelle.
I mean, it is great what they're doing. I have a thing about the world tour real quick. It went to Hawaii, Shanghai, Sydney, London, Rio de Janeiro, Miami, Puerto Rico, Los Angeles, New York, and Tokyo. That's okay, Jonas. They put The Rock in Motel 8s all around the world. He very inexpensive. He's okay.
Just 50 billion.
I didn't mean to step on Michelle.
No. We needed that context, Michelle. They keep doing this. They did with Mando. It is crazy expensive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not the audience for Moana.
No, you really are, Michelle.
No, I'm not though, because Moana, it's a newer one. It came out,
Okay.
It came out when I was out of college by the time Moana came out. So, I'm not really the demographic for this movie. It looks like trash. So
they're hoping your niece is going to make you go see it. I mean, listen, that's what they're counting on is the ladies going to see.
Absolutely not going to see that movie.
Snow White, here we come again. All right, Carol, your thoughts on the situation? Disney trying to dig themselves out of this box office. A lot of folks, they don't realize the House of Mouse is underwater right now. It looks like it could be worse by the end of July.
Hold on. I will say this really quick. They have had one win, and I, in the beginning, knew it was going to be their win of the year.
Let me see if I can.
And that was The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Got my little horns on. I was ready for that one. Yeah, you're right.
So they did have that win, but that, I think, is going to be it.
So Devil Wears Prada probably made them, what, $300 million in profit? So that's good.
They will do killer numbers when they put it on Hulu.
Yep. So
about 150 million in net profit.
Really? I thought it was higher than that now. Okay. So I had stopped paying attention months ago.
I may not have. I stopped paying attention, but I think the final global was close to 677.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought it topped 700.
Yeah, and if it had been good, it would have been $1 billion.
Yeah. So they've got a lot of digging to do. Caro, your thoughts on I guess the public perception, because I don't think normies understand. They see the big numbers. People talk about, well, Disney's leading the pack. And it's like, they're negative right now.
I think a lot of times it's, what's a good example? Like take Altered Carbon, for example. I had never read the book. I had seen the Netflix show, and originally I was like, oh, this Netflix show seems really good. And I mentioned it to my friend, and he was like, no, it's trash. And I was like, whoa, right? And then I went and read the book, and I was like, man, you're right, it is trash, right? So I think in a lot of cases, because people don't have that context, they're pulling from what they know, and what they know is very limited. My one thought that I had while I was watching some of this was, I wonder if Dwayne was contracted to do the live action, and maybe his legal team like pushed Disney into doing it while he can still do it.
No, to my knowledge, he was not contracted to do it. I think he made a lot of money. I think there is a ton of money that they threw at him. He is primarily the only major star in the movie, so far as I'm aware, and so I think he commanded a huge contract.
No sense. It makes no sense.
We're trying to figure out where the money went because the trailer doesn't look like it's on screen.
Went to CGI.
Like, he is a big star, but he's not like. Again, he was the star of Black Adam, and that film flopped. No one actually went to go see it because he is not actually a big draw in and of himself. If you announce him, maybe not as much today because of everything going on with the WWE and the TKO takeover, but I mean, back in the day, if you announced The Rock was going to show up on Monday Night Raw, you could sell tickets to that. You could sell tickets to the wrestling shows, and he might have a lot of followers on social media. But The Rock is always my prime example of how social media followers does not actually equal purchasing power. It does not actually result in ticket sales.
Well, it's also a completely different audience. Stone Cold Steve Austin can sell tickets to an arena, but if you put him in a Disney movie,
or any movie,
I
don't know. What? Stone Cold Steve Austin as Uncle Remus would be one heck of a play. Zippity doo. No, I won't do it.
When we went to go see Minions and Monsters, one of my kids looked at the Moana poster and said, "What did they do to Maui?
Why? Not you too. Hey. When you stick around for the entire video, it really does help the channel. And we're so appreciative of that, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine that you would stick around and hear everything we have to say. The studio is glistening because you're listening each and every day. If you're not yet subscribed, well, you should be. And click that like button. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.